my channel. I am Maricita Colors in English.
Make this nice fantasy stitch, I will use this yarn of acrylic and the needles number 5 millimeters. This fantasy stitch you must make with multiples of 3, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 30, and so on. By example, this thread has 30 stitches plus 1. So when I make 15 stitches, I must make 15 plus 1. So I must make 16. I will make 16 stitches. So for calculate the yarn, I will involve 16 times the yarn on the needle. 3, 4, 16 times. We let a little yarn. We let out the yarn, and with this calculate yarn I will make the stitches in the needle. I cut the yarn with my fingers. We insert the needle and from the left to the right on the needle. We pull a little and here I have 2 stitches. Like this I will make 16 stitches. Here I make the last stitch. Here we have 16 stitches. We turn the knitting work and we begin to make the knit stitch. From left to right we insert the needle, we pass the yarn, and this yarn stays on the needle. Again, from left to right we insert into the needle, we pass the yarn, and this yarn stays into the needle. Here I will make only knit stitches. Here almost I finish the row, the first row only of knit stitches. Here I pull a little, we turn the knitting work, and here I will make the purl stitch. Look, this is the purl stitch. From this second row, I will pass the first stitch to the left needle to the right. We must insert the needle from the right to the left. We pass the first stitch and we make again the same. From the right to the left, the yarn involves the needle and this yarn stays in the needle of the right. Again, from the right to the left, we insert the needle into the stitch, we pass the yarn, and we have the new stitch. Like this, I will make until that finish this row. This is the last stitch of the purl stitch. And I pull a little for that my border is uniform. Here I will begin with the fantasy stitch. I will make 3 knit stitches. The first we pass, like the knit stitch, we make the second and the third knit stitch. Now I will make yarn over the needle from the back to the front. Look, this is like a new stitch. And now I will make one decrease. I will catch 2 stitches and I will make one knit stitch. And now we made a decrease. So now I will make 2 knit stitches. After this, yarn over the needle, I have like 3 knit stitches. The decrease count like 3 knit stitches. Again, we make the yarn over the needle, 1 decrease, and this decrease count like the first of 3. This is the second knit and the third knit stitch. Yarn over the knit, 1 decrease. Like always, we use the knit stitch. This is the second and the third stitch. And here I make the last knit stitch. We don't make the yarn over the needle and we have not more stitches for make the decrease. So we finish this first row and here you can see the spaces. We turn the knitting work and here we have 16 stitches. So always in all our thread we must have the 16 stitches. The yarn over the needle we must make like the purl stitch. We make the first we pass and the second purl stitch. I have 3 purl stitches and here I find the yarn over the needle and I insert the needle into the stitch and we make the purl stitch because this is like a new stitch. And we make the big space with this stitch and we continue with the purl stitch, and when we find this yarn over the hook we make the purl stitch. Like this we must make until that we finish this row. We make decreases. For this is important that we must make these stitches in the reverse. This is the reverse of our thread. When the yarn is in the right part, this is the front of my work. Look, this is like canots and this is like lines. It's different. This is the reverse. In this row, I will begin to make the line in diagonal. Is to the left, these big spaces. So I must make 1 stitch more that we make in the last row for the front. All the stitches we make only for the front. For the reverse we make only the reverse. Here I make 1, 2 knit stitches, 3, and over the big space we make the 4 knit stitch. After that I make this 4 knit stitch, I make the yarn over the needle and I make the decrease. So from here I repeat alles, or I repeat all. 1, 2, and 3 knit stitches, and always the third knit stitch must be over the big space. We make the yarn over the knit or yarn over the needle, the decrease. This is the second and the third knit stitches. The decrease is like the first knit stitch. Again, yarn over the needle, 1 decrease, and after the decrease we make the 2 knit stitches. Always when we make the yarn over the needle we must make 1 decrease. They go together. And here we turn the knitting work and we make again the purl stitches. When we find the big space we make the purl stitches. This is the yarn over the needle that we make in the front. When we finish we turn and we make the next row. Here I must make 5 knit stitches. We begin with 3, after this is 4, and now is 5 knit stitches. Here I make the 5 stitch over the space. This makes that our line go in the left side. We make the yarn over the needle, the decrease. This is like the first stitch, the second knit stitch, and the third knit stitch. We repeat all the stitches. Yarn over the needle, 1 decrease, the second and third knit stitch. And here I make 1 yarn over the needle, 1 decrease. Look, we never make the decrease in the last 2 stitches. When we find like this, we can make the decrease. And we make the last knit stitch. We turn the knitting work and we repeat only the purl stitches. If I have in the beginning 16 stitches, I always must have the 16 stitches in all the thread. Now I finish this purl stitch and look the big spaces. They are diagonal. In this row, I don't make 6 knit stitches because in the previous I make 5. I will make 2 knit stitches and yarn over the needle, 1 decrease, and this is a new line in diagonal. The second knit and the third knit stitch goes over the big spaces. This is the new line in diagonal. Here I will repeat all the stitches. I make, after the 3 knit stitches, we make the yarn over the needle and 1 decrease. So we must repeat until finish the row. Here I made the third knit stitch and now I must make the yarn over the needle, but look, here I have only 2 stitches for the decrease, so I don't make this line finish here. I only make the 2 knit stitches. I don't make the yarn over the needle and I don't make the decrease. We begin a new line and we finish a line of diagonal. Here I have the 16 stitches. Now I make only the purl stitches. Here I finish the row of the purl stitches and turn the knitting work and look, here we finish the line of the left and we begin the new. So now I must make 3 knit stitches. In the previous we make 2 knit stitches and now we make the 3 knit stitches. The third stitch always goes over the big space. We make the yarn over the needle and the decrease and repeat all the stitches. Here we finish the row, we turn the knitting work and we begin to make the purl stitch. So the stitches change only in the beginning in front of our thread. Here in the front you can see the lines in diagonal. In the previous row we made 3 knit stitches, so here I must make 4 knit stitches and the 4 goes over the space. Like this you will continue until that you have the length of your thread that you prefer. Here I have 31 stitches. Its multiple of 3 is 30. plus 1 stitch. You can see the lines in diagonal finish in the left and begin in the right side. Here you can see the big space, so here in the previous row I made the 2 knit stitches, the yarn over the needle and the decrease. So here I must make 3 knit stitches. The third knit stitch goes over the big space, yarn over the needle and the decrease. 1, 2 and 3 knit stitches. The third stitch always is over the big space and we repeat all the stitches. Here I have 31 stitches and in all my thread I must have the 31 stitches. Here I made yarn over the needle and the decrease and the 2 knit stitches. Return the knitting work and I make the purl stitch. The first stitch always in every row I pass from the left to the right needle. Here I finish the purl stitches and here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. Always I must have these 7 lines in diagonal. Here I must make 4 knit stitches. The 4 knit stitch is over the space, so I make the yarn over the needle, the decrease, like the first knit stitch, the second and the third knit stitch, and we repeat all the stitches. This is the third knit stitch over the big space. So here I make the yarn over the needle, the decrease that here I can make because I have one last stitch before the decrease and I make the last knit stitch. And again the purl stitch. If you don't make the yarn over the needle, you don't must make the decrease, remember. Here I make the last purl stitch and turn the knitting work. If in the previous I make 4 knit stitches, I will make the 5 knit stitches. After this, in the front, I will begin with the 2 knit stitches. Here I make the yarn over the needle and the decrease, and we repeat the stitches. So you must repeat all these lines or all the rows in front from 3 that I begin until 5 knit stitches. After this we begin with the 2, 3, 4 and 5 knit stitches. Here I have the third knit stitch. After this I must make the yarn over the needle, but look, I have only 2 stitches for the decrease, so I only make the 2 knit stitch. And like this you must repeat until that you have the length of your thread that you prefer. I want to invite you to subscribe here in my channel, Maricita Colors in English. It's total free. You can find me too in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest. And if you like this video, you can share it and give me 1 like. Thank you very much, and we see us in my next crochet or knitting pattern. Ciao, ciao!